Hey, what's up? Power lunch time, people. Starting, we're hopping on Blab. We're doing it now. I feel like you're a little low. Here we go. I gotta figure out my whole setup here. Bear with me. There you go. That's kind of better, right? Hey, guys. All right, are we ready to go? Let's do it up. What's going on Blab? I feel like no one can see me. Oh, I have to join it. Okay. Hey, guys. Welcome to Power Lunch. We are on Blab and we're on Periscope. And today, you got to fire your ego. It is time. I'm all about confidence. I'm all about feeling good about you and your business and feeling awesome. Someone had a dream about Grant. You might want to tell Grant about that. But your ego is a big problem. And I know because my ego is a problem for me. It's a big problem. I don't think I'm the best at everything. Thank you. I don't think I'm the only one anyone should hire, please. But what's interesting is people with ego problems, like me, when I've struggled with my ego, it's not that I think I'm so great. I actually have major insecurities like anyone else. I like Periscope, and I also like Blab, because Blab allows people to hop on and talk to me. So if you want to chat with me, come on over to Blab, because then you can actually get on there and talk. But let's chat for a few seconds here, and let me lay down what we're talking about so that you can figure out where you fit in. Now, let me tell you this. When I started out, oh, and by the way, Nick Longo is on here, and Nick Longo was featured on Solopreneur this week, which is informing the topic of Power Lunch this week. If you go on to grantcardonetv.com/solopreneur, or if you just go to my website, terryjaspicio.com, you'll see you can get a link to the show. And I interviewed Nick Longo, who is, he owns Longo Designs. He is a terrific commercial artist. And notice we don't get weird about the word commercial. You want to make money, you're going to have to sell what you do. And if you're only here to do your art, just because you like it and a few of your friends, that's great for you, not what we're talking about. Now, my first job that was a non-administrative job, so after I got a job as a writer, which is really what I wanted to do. And I got a job as a writer at a catalog company that sold wigs and hair pieces. I am so not kidding. You can go to it right now. There were a few catalogs, but the one that's known the most is called Paula Young. Has anyone ever heard of it? There's Paula Young and Especially Yours. Those were the two catalogs I wrote for. And I was so thrilled because it was like a creative job. Like I actually got to be creative on this job and write. And I was so happy. I was like, oh, it was a dream job. Of course, first I was like, wigs, what? I don't know about that. But it turned out to be great because, creative work is creative work. But here's what happened. After I got comfortable in that role, I started to think my ideas were the best. I was convinced that they were. And what I wanted to do, I had to write like the copy, the headlines on the catalogs and all the copy, the sell copy. I started to get pretty convinced that I knew what I was doing. And I did. I was really good at it. I moved quickly. I could really create great copy and all that stuff. But I got very hung up on the fact that I thought my way was the best. Now, if anyone has ever worked, Paula Rizzo, I see you. Are you trying to get on right now? It says you're trying to get on to the show, which I'm happy to have you on. And I want to. Let me just finish this one thought. And so I started to think that I knew the right way to do it. When you work in copy and language, you have to work with design. And one of the most tense things is between language and design. And I got kind of hung up. Okay. And I got kind of hung up because I was like, no, you need to do it this way. And I want this word to be bigger. And I want this to be... And the designers were like, okay, but we don't think that's as important. I was like, no, it's definitely important. And they were like, no, it's not. And then I became known as a difficult person to work with. And I'd always thought I was just a total pleasure. We all think we're amazing, just like we all think we're great managers and all of that stuff. But I really did get hung up a bit. And I got so annoyed because one of the designers I felt like didn't understand. Like I started to be like, oh, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get what I'm trying to do with this. And she's wrong. And I went over her head and went to the creative director and was like, here's what so-and-so wants to do, but here's actually what we should be doing. And he kind of agreed with me, but, well, maybe, but it doesn't matter. It is so uncool to go over someone's head. Let me tell you, that is where I cut my teeth on a lot of office politics. Because before that, when I was an office administrator, you're not trying to be your boss's boss. You know, you're just trying to do what you need to do as an assistant. But when in this creative role, I started to be like, well, no, I want my way done. And until you're the boss, you don't really get to do that. Wait, someone just read, Grant inspired me to go get jobs selling cars and they let me go because I was hard to manage. That is exactly what I'm saying, Rob. That it's not enough just to be good at what you do. You must be coachable. You must. And let me tell you, I got taken aside and told that if I weren't such a great writer, they would let me go. My writing and my abilities saved me, but it doesn't always, because you're not in there to run the joint. And I'm not talking about, I know we're like, okay, we're talking to entrepreneurs, people who run their own businesses where you are the boss. But when you are working for someone else, no, you're wrong. Politics are not stupid. And if you ignore politics, you're stupid, because then you don't get to just act in a vacuum. You need to understand how hierarchies work, especially if you do any kind of consulting or coaching work. If you're working with people who are paying your check, you work for them. And in fact, you need to make sure that they get what they want. Now, that's hard. If someone's paying top dollar for you for your opinion, they're stupid if they don't listen, right? But in the end, it's really about it's really not about what you want. It's about what you are giving to them as a solution. Are you providing a thing? Not just, are you trying to get your way? No, what are you talking about? I don't know about you. You're saying crazy things. There's no slaves. We're not talking about slaves. I'm talking about, and by the way, if you're self-employed because you're the unemployable, like I hear that joke a lot, like, oh, I work for myself because I can't work for anyone. Unless you're making money in a vacuum, you are always going to depend on someone else to buy from you, to pay you. So no, it's not just because you're not in the office doesn't mean you get to avoid office politics. That is not how that works. And you'll find out because people just won't want to work with you. In fact, I know many people who will work with writers who aren't as good, and that's just where I come from, the writing world. They'll work with writers who aren't as good because they're easier to coach. They're easier to work with. So it's a given that you got to be good at what you do. But when you're difficult, trust me, it doesn't matter how good you are. No one's working with you. So the term, it depends on the client. I tell his clients I give an opinion, but yes, they get to be the client and they get to choose what they're going to do. But you are there to advise. If you're in a coaching or consulting role, you're there to advise. I've worked with a client and said, I don't agree with that. Here's my concern. But in the end, of course, it's your decision, and I will support the decision you make. That's what we do. We say, here's my concern, but let's do what you want to do. Who's paying someone to nag them that you're not doing what you want? Like, what? I'm not paying someone who's going to be mad if I don't do what they want. Don't turn into a tug of war here. It's really, really, yes, as you know, not being coachable, says Mike, has cost me a lot of time and money in new ventures. And I'll say it again. I've said it every week so far. Yes, I am a published writer, if is that what you're asking me. Daniel Degree said, if you believe everyone who doesn't agree with you is stupid, then you can't ever learn because you can't believe that someone can be smart and hold a different opinion from you. Well, at least you're being honest, DJ. You can't get above where you are because you think you're better than you are. I don't work for Grant specifically, not like an employee of his, no. It's key, though. That's like what you call like armchair pro, right? Like, oh, I could have done this. It's like, well, you've got to be open to others' opinions. And by the way, able to admit you're wrong. If it misrepresents your work and you don't want your name on it, that's something different. But, you actually do have to be a good employee if you're going to employ other people. You have to learn how to do that. Thank you. So here's the thing. You help me with that. Everyone isn't stupid. They're average. If they're average, I'm exceptional. Well, again, I don't know if it's like I have to be smarter than other people. And I'll give you an example. I did my first stand-up show last night, first stand-up comedy show. It was a hit. I messed up a little in the beginning, but it was fine. That was good. I was happy with it, but I got laughs. It was a very easy crowd, by the way, very warm, soft crowd. But my point being this, there was a guy who was a professional. I mean, he was not someone in our class. And it is not easy. There's not one easy thing about comedy. Wrong. But a guy got up there and alienated everybody because his jokes were lazy, stupid. They really were alienating. They were old jokes, like completely outdated, I thought. And he had a horrible energy and hated the audience. In fact, every time people didn't joke, they didn't laugh back at his jokes, he would be like, F you guys suck. Like, he hated the audience. Well, guess what? Oh, I should record this. You're right. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, I'm recording now. But guess what? That doesn't work. You don't get to tell the whole audience that they suck. If they don't laugh, you bomb. That guy bombed. Oh, you're talking about the comedy thing. I thank you for reminding me, though. I just started recording this blab. I hate that it doesn't do it automatically. But it is recorded. I will view the recording and decide whether I'm going to post it. And if I do, I'll put it on my site. So where are you being a little bit precious about your work? Coactive Coaching is a book everyone should get. Coactive Coaching. Yes. Good one. Now, oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Comedy's easy when it's not expected. Well, it's great. You can pull a funny line once in a while when no one expects it. But to get up on stage and say, hi, I'm about to be funny, was so freaking scary. I really almost threw up right before I went up. Oh, good for you. Dude, what are you talking about, squirrel? I don't understand. If you made it into some kind of delicious jerky, I will try it. But otherwise, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're talking about. So, who wants to hop on and talk about where your ego is getting in your way right now? And if you don't like the idea of ego, well, I don't have an ego. Everyone has an ego. If you can't deal with that, I'm wondering why and how your relationship, are you stuck in any kind of crux with a client where you're having trouble getting out of it? You want to hop on? You asked me, what do you do? Okay. Well, go to terrytrespicio.com and you will see what I do. I do a lot of different things, but the thing that I do all the time is I help people solidify and distill their brand messaging and help them be better presenters of their own brand, whether that's in media, whether that's to investors, audience. I am a master of content production and development and figuring out how to connect with an audience by knowing exactly what you're trying to sell and how to sell it. Make sense? The line between ego and confidence, two different things. Hey, from Kansas City, I'm headed there tomorrow. Ego is a function. We all have an ego, just like we all have a spleen. That's what you have. You have an ego. It just is what it is. You can have an ego and have a horrible self-confidence, by the way. And if your ego gets in the way, it's because, oh, we have someone on the line. If your ego gets in the way, it's because you're caring more about how you feel than what you get out of the situation. Hello, sir. Sebastian.
What's happening, Terry? How you doing?
I'm good. How can I help you today?
Well, I just started jumping on blabs, so I've been abruptly jumping on random blabs. I saw something pop up on your Periscope, so or blabs. So
yep.
I decided to jump in on the conversation. And ego's always an interesting topic, and it's cost all of us thousands of dollars.
Yes.
But I believe it also made us all thousands of dollars as well too. I think there's a healthy ego that really allows us to continue to sustain and build and drive and grow our brands. And then there's the other side that just complete. But at the same time, who's judging the ego? That's the question. And who's on the receiving side? Because
well, right, but it's your ego, right? I mean, like, let's bring Nick. Hang on one second. Nick Longo joining us, but hang on one second. But where has it been a problem for you, though, Sebastian? Tell me about that.
Well, I built my brand from nothing. I'm literally from nothing. So
what do you do?
My hat on that. I'm very proud of what that.
What do you do?
I wrote a book called Social Media Sucks. If you don't know.
Oh, that's the book.
And I've got an agency here in Miami that helps brands establish a social media strategy, but I'm very much a part of it. I usually wear bow ties.
But what are you trying to get people to do? Like, what is your thing? Like, what do you do for people?
So I help them set up, plan, and execute their social media strategy. And then the real category of one is that I their brand ambassador, their influencer, talking about their product, using their product, endorsing their product, and creating content around it to support their social media.
Well, right. That's so funny. So you actually, it's interesting because you obviously make your living from social media, and yet it sucks. And you called it that, I assume, to hit that nerve where everyone does think that.
I really did. I originally set out and was going to say, social media is here to stay. And someone said, Sebastian, you got to kind of over the top, in your face personality. That's not going to work. And I'm like, how about social media sucks if you don't know what you're doing? And she's like,
there you go. That's it. So has it been successful for you?
What's that?
Has it been successful for you so far?
Most days are a shit show as an entrepreneur. Most days are, but here's the deal. If I'm going to have stress about work in general, I'm going to create it myself. So I continue on the entrepreneur route, and I just believe that we're still in the beginning of this whole social media thing. And,
totally.
I got in the game in like 2005 just to mess around on MySpace, and then later on in 2010 decided there's probably a way to monetize this. I read Gary Vee's book Crush It.
Yes.
5 years ago, and the very next year I was interviewing Gary for his second book, and I'm like, hold on a second, something. And then someone approached me to write a book about a year and a half ago, and I'm like, I don't even read books. Are you allowed to write books still?
God. Yeah, reading would be a good idea.
I was able to talk the whole process. So
oh
they
my
just
God.
interviewed me for 8 grueling
So
hours.
Funny.
And I can talk for weeks, but back to the ego part, though. I'm really proud of what I've done. I've built something from nothing. I used to take the bus around and borrow money for my bow tie and stuff. And now I've got a sustainable brand that's continuing to grow. I muddy the waters a little bit with the ego because I'm really excited about it and I'm really passionate. But I think people misread whether or not am I a cocky asshole or am I just really
right.
proud.
And that's a key difference. You just brought it up. The key there is that you need a little ego, because if you don't care at all, if I had no ego, I wouldn't be dressed, showered, have any makeup on. I'd be in bed over there. So yes, you absolutely need it. You need to let it drive, but you can't let it rule. And check out Sebastian's book, Social Media Sucks If You Don't Know What You're Doing. Sebastian, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. It's great to connect with you, Terry.
Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Guys.
Thanks, Sebastian. We have Mr. Longo. Mr. Longo, who was featured on Solopreneur this week. What's up?
This is my first collab. This is awesome.
Oh my God, you guys, a virgin.
You're just like the social media queen here. You're on everything, but doing it right.
Well, thank you. I like to think so. So what's going on? So what do you got? What little insight do you have to share about this ego thing?
God, I love what he said, and you nailed it too. It's like you have to have some. You can't eliminate it completely. I heard someone say the other day, if you just have like 10% of Kanye West's ego, like you'll be fine. It's like, where do you run on the scale? And he's obviously to the max. But you're totally right. You have to have something, otherwise you wouldn't do the things you do. You wouldn't, be the person you are. But it's a fine line, because I find now, knowing so much about it after reading about it, that I identify it in other people so quickly now, and that sometimes is like, it sucks, because you see how people default to the ego so quickly in conversations.
But it's natural. In fact, someone just said, how do you, someone just wrote on Periscope, how do you have an ego and still be a good person? And this is a really important crux here, because no one said the ego is evil. The ego is only a problem when it is not kept in check, when it is allowed to run roughshod. So if I snap at you just because I'm hurt, I do damage to the relationship because of my ego. So ego is like, I think of it as a little whining baby. It's okay to have the baby, but you don't let the baby run the whole show. You don't let it dictate your actions, because then people see you as, quite honestly, temperamental, mercurial, like not someone that people can trust to not be attached. Because if I have a crying baby and I'm going shh, shh, then I can't. How when you have a little baby like that, you can't be like talking to someone really engaged. If I am so locked onto this baby, my little baby ego, I actually can't listen to you. And this is not anything about mothers, okay? This is a metaphor. And my point being that if I can't get away from the sound of this crying baby, then you and I can't engage fully. And the real mark of a professional, as you said on the show this week on Solopreneur, is that if you let that baby scream louder than your relationships, no one's going to want to be in a relationship with you.
Exactly.
Now, you're an artist. You're an artist. Now, artists, just stereotypically, their egos are a problem. How are you not an asshole?
Gosh, I think it has a lot to do. My dad was an architect, and he had the perfect blend of being creative and a businessman, and I saw that as a kid. I didn't see the precious artist guy who clawed his way and tried to get his way every time when it came to.
You didn't have that as a model, right?
Yeah, I never saw that part of it, and when I chose a creative field, I have to admit that probably most of my training or what I know now came from all the different workplaces I worked at. And when you start identifying people, because everyone has one. I remember having an ego, and I'll clearly admit when I was wrong. I can look at those situations and be like, wow, I had such an ego. What was my problem? But then you work with someone else who has one twice as big or twice as or half. You see someone who has zero ego, and they're so respected. People listen to them because they trust them, rather than, oh, damn, that guy's just talking again because of that ego and he wants to be the loudest.
Well, that's the thing. And we know you're just trying to feed that baby.
Exactly,
that it's a problem.
Exactly. When you see good examples of people who get things done, have trust around them, have built great relationships with other people they work with, you realize those are the most least ego people in the building. You know? Do
you remember how hard it was the first time you had to accept that something you did was not a mistake and wrong, but not the best idea?
Yeah. Oh my God. That was always, I'm like, I fought for things so.
You fought too hard. You didn't pick your battles, right?
Oh, but it was so wrong because you're right. You work with another person who is maybe the marketing person of a project, and you don't give them the credit and say, hey, maybe they know something about it. I'm just the art guy. You know, especially early in your career, you don't have the experience to know right or wrong, and they might know something that the client knows that you don't.
That you don't know, right?
So yeah, you got to sit and you got to have those years where that's your role. You just do what's given to you, and you put your expertise into it as best as possible. But years down the road, when your promotions or your titles get bigger and bigger, now you do have to have a bit of a say. But how you do it, how you treat the team you work with, is super important, and you'll get better trust and
absolutely.
Value from them if you do it with the right sense of like, hey, I encourage you to give me your opinion, but let's talk about it. I might know something that you don't know about the client.
It's literally information. It's literally, if you just make it about information and not ego, and say, and a mutual goal. The problem with the ego is when there's a pull between what I want, what you want, who's better, who's more talented, who's smarter, this whole stupid thing. If you're both working in service to the goal, if the goal is to solve, like, well, how can we make this the best? And he goes, well, I think it should be this way. And I go, well, I think it should be this way. But here's why I think it, and I see why you think that way. What can we do to get the best of both? And remember, especially for us, you guys who own your own businesses, that is not your business probably. So you can help them as much as you can, but then just do what they want and make sure that doing the best they can do doesn't have to mean they have to fight you. Because if it's too hard for them to talk to you about what they want, they don't want to talk to you and they don't want to work with you, and then they're not going to pay you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, and I teach as well, and I tell my students, you got a clean slate. When you get into that work field after graduating, don't ever be the person that has the ego or becomes the person no one wants to work with.
Oh, forget it. You're done.
Yeah, and that's so you can fall into that trap without even knowing. And I felt like I did because I got so caught up in everything that I was told to go after, as an ambitious kid coming out of college. And you're like, I have to have all those things now, right? That's what society tells me I have to get and try. And then you get to a point where you're like, gosh, maybe I'm there. And I just tell them, be open to that from the very beginning.
Yep.
Because then you'll put the little checkpoints in and say, gosh, that might not be the way to go after this. I want to be the guy who everyone or girl that everyone wants to work with, that first to choose on a team because of their value, not because of their,
not just because you're the best,
Yeah, the ego.
Someone's saying, someone's saying it's frustrating to work with clients. Oh, Dan is saying it's frustrating to work with clients who have lack of self-confidence. But remember this, and this is true, you don't grow up and you might automatically get taller as you get older, or there's a certain point when you're not growing anymore. There's a certain point where you don't get taller anymore, and there's a certain point where some people just level off. They don't get more confident. And someone said, oh, it's just like high school. My feeling is that it's not that, oh God, what is this, still high school? High school is just the first time you experience it. This is what humans feel about each other. Competitive, insecure, worried, anxious. And if you go in understanding that everyone feels like that, then you're going to know that we're all in the same place. But look, not everyone's self-confident. But if someone has a weak spot, and you push on that weak spot a little bit, and if they feel unconfident, and you twist that and make them feel more unconfident, they will do everything to have you off the project. So you have to know there's a kindness and a wisdom when you understand what someone's weak point is, that you don't point it out to them or rub it in their face. You don't.
Or announce it in front of others.
Like when you're smarter than your client, which happens from time to time, that you'll have a little more insight or you're a little bit more seasoned in one area. By making them feel they don't know, you do not win there. You lose.
And it's up to you, because you bring up a good point about the fact that these people are the ones that you want to work with, or you want that will be chosen on teams and things like that. I found that if you can either take someone aside or like you were saying with the client, if you you can teach them a new trick. That is what I guess I'm trying to say. I found that if you do it right and craft a message right to them, you can break someone from those habits and show them maybe a change is necessary. That's a great feeling when you get that success with a client. It doesn't happen all the time, but when you do, it shows you learned a little bit about each time you've tried how to push, how not to push, when to just say, okay, it's yours. I'm
right.
But I told you.
But you can't be pissy. You can't be pissy about it. You have to. I mean, it sucks. You're like, oh, I hate it. I hate all this stuff with clients. You're always going to have someone who has to pay you, and you always have to treat them better than maybe they deserve. And that's the key.
And it's the road you chose, so it's kind of like,
well, right.
Get out if this is not your gig.
Exactly. And you're in the people business. Well, Nick, it's so good to see you.
You too, as well. And love the end of the podcast. That was great. Really cool.
Terrific. Well, I hope you'll start your own blab soon and start teaching people what you do.
It's awesome. I love it.
It's great.
Right. Sounds great.
Thanks, Nick.
All right. Have a good rest of the
podcast. We'll talk to you later. Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
How fun was that? I love this shit. I don't like everyone I DJ for. Oh my God, of course not. You guys, you're not going to love everyone you work for, and you don't have to. It's great when you love some people that you work with, but honestly, you're not going to love them all, and it's okay. In fact, there's some people who've hired me for stuff, and I know they don't like me. Whoops. You're falling down, aren't you? This is not working. Shit, there was something else I was going to say about that. Yep, follow him on Instagram's Longo Designs. Oh, yeah. Of course, yeah, we're talking about keeping your ego in check. You will always feel you know best. That's not going to change. I have not been to South by Southwest, and my stand-up was awesome last night. I was really happy about it. Did I tell you I had my first stand-up show last night? First ever. And I thought I was going to vomit, and when I stood up there, total calm descended. And I just had the best time. I loved it. I definitely want to do it again. When do you fire your clients? Good question. And I am 2 minutes away from letting you go because Power Lunch is supposed to be 30 minutes or less. I haven't actually fully officially fired. I think I just don't re-up with certain people, or I don't go chasing them. I think they're going to be trouble. If I think someone's going to be too hard, I'm like, meh. I think we should do separate scope on when to fire your clients. And if you're brave and if you want to talk on here about it, I don't know. It's a bit crazy if you're still working for them. I will be in Kansas City this weekend because I'm presenting at TEDx. I'm very excited about this and very flippin' nervous about it too because I'm not 100% ready because I rewrote the end of my talk and I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm having a freak out. Let's not talk about it. Too nervous. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for joining. God damn it. Remember the one last thing that I was going to tell you, which is that you should have an ego. You should be confident in what you're doing and what you believe in and stand up for. People will pay for that. People will value it. But in the end, trying to be the smartest one or make someone else feel that you're smarter is a problem. So look, I say this because I've struggled with it all myself. It's hard for me to take criticism. It is hard because I always feel like I have a reason for what I did, right? But ego isn't the worst thing. It really isn't. Oh, I know what it was. Someone upstairs said, I can't win. I'm lost on ego. It says, moment you say you're humble, you're not. Because you're bragging to feed your ego. There's nothing wrong. The ego is not evil. It's just that you're more than the ego. And when you rise to service, to support, and help a greater end, that matters. You have to have some kind of ego. Will you go for anything? Will you try for anything? Without any ego, you wouldn't do anything but sit in a corner, I guess, and shake. I don't know. But I hope that you'll use your power for ego. Use your power of ego. Ego is like a source of energy. You'll use it for good and not bad. Meaning, don't let it manipulate you or get you into trouble. Got it? All right, that's it for this week's Power Lunch. I will see you and let you know how the TED Talk went after, and of course I will share that with you. You can go to terryjustbeshow.com. If you want to get a free copy of the book, Take the Work Out of Networking, you can get it on my website. You just sign up and you will get it. You'll get it in the newsletter. You'll be able to click on it, download it. Go to terryjustbeshow.com. I'll write that up here. And that's all, folks.